So, how's the weather? Beautiful day out, am I right? If you're struggling to make it through small talk, especially in Spanish, we've got you covered. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you some key phrases that you can use when making conversation with native Spanish speakers. Vamos! In this lesson, we'll cover 6 major types of small talk: greetings and goodbyes, expressing gratitude, getting to know people, talking about love and relationships, daily and common expressions, and how to change the conversation. Remember, if becoming conversational in Spanish is your goal, then check out BaseLang.com, where you can get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers via Zoom. So let's get started. Greetings and goodbyes. There are a lot of ways to greet someone and initiate a chat. The more you know, the more fluent and natural your Spanish will sound. Let's go over a few to get you started. ¿Qué hay de nuevo? What's new? Or you could say, ¿Qué cuentas de nuevo? Which means, what's new? Another common one is, ¿Cómo te ha ido? Which means, how's it going? If you're bumping into someone you haven't seen in a while, you could say, ¿Cuánto tiempo sin vernos? Which means, it's been ages since I last saw you. Or if you're looking for a more casual way to greet someone, a good one to know is, ¿Qué tal? Which means, what's up? Another way to say this is, ¿Qué más? There are plenty of ways to say hello and lots of different ways to say goodbye as well. Let's go over a few. Te veo más tarde is how you say, see you later. You could also say, te veo en un rato, which means see you in a while. If you know exactly when you're seeing someone next, you can say something like, te veo el lunes, which means see you Monday. Or for a more general goodbye, a good one to know is, cuídate, which means take care. Once you know a few of these basic phrases, you can incorporate them into your Spanish and sound more like a native speaker. Let's go through a few examples of these phrases in action. You could say, ¿Cómo has estado? ¿Qué cuentas de nuevo? Which means, how have you been? What's new with you? Or maybe, ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo te ha ido? Which is Spanish for, what's up? How's it going? Now, you might also need to express thanks, which brings us to expressing gratitude. Here are a few different ways to say thanks and more generally express gratitude, big or small. Knowing more than a simple gracias is a good way to make your Spanish sound more native-like. If someone is helping you, you can say, gracias por tu ayuda. This means thanks for your help. Another way to express gratitude is to say, estoy muy agradecido, or estoy muy agradecida, which means I'm very grateful. You could also say, eres muy amable, which means you are very kind, or gracias por ayudarme, thanks for helping me. If you're thanking several people at once, you could say, les agradezco mucho. Thanks very much, guys. Or if you're thanking one person, gracias a ti. Thanks to you. When someone expresses gratitude to you, there are also many ways to say you're welcome. The most common one that you may have heard of is de nada, which literally translates to of nothing. But there are lots of other ways to say it too. You could say cuando quieras, which means anytime, or a la orden, which means you're welcome. You could also say no hay de qué, it's nothing, or es un placer, which means it's a pleasure. Finally, you could say con gusto, which means my pleasure. Let's take a look at some of these examples used in a sentence. Te llamo para darte las gracias por tu ayuda. De verdad, estoy muy agradecida. This means I'm calling to thank you for your help. I'm really grateful. Or, para mí fue un placer ayudarte. Así que cuando quieras, me puedes pedir ayuda. It was a pleasure for me to help you. You can ask me for help again anytime. If you're enjoying this lesson, we'd be extremely grateful if you give it a thumbs up. And make sure to hit that subscribe button to get more videos like this one. Now, the next way small talk is commonly used is when you're getting to know people. We call these cocktail party phrases. For example, these phrases are useful when trying to get to know more about a person. If you're curious about someone, you can say, cuéntame más de ti, which means tell me more about you. A common question when getting to know someone is, ¿a qué te dedicas? Which means, what do you do for a living? If you just met someone, you may want to know where they're from. You could ask them, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from? Another way to ask this is, ¿de dónde vienes? Which is translated to, where do you come from? Or to get to know someone better, you can say, ¿qué haces para divertirte? which means, what do you do for fun? Finally, if you know someone hasn't been feeling well, you could ask them something like, ¿Cómo dormiste? Which means, how did you sleep? Let's see some of these phrases in action. Tienes un acento diferente. ¿De dónde eres? You have a different accent. Where are you from? Or, buenos días. Hoy te ves mejor. ¿Cómo dormiste? Which means, good morning. You look better. How'd you sleep? These basic phrases should go a long way when it comes to talking with people you're getting to know. Now, if you want to get a little more personal in your conversation, another common topic is love and relationships. Sometimes the small talk leads you to more personal chat. So let's dive into some basic words and phrases to talk about love and romance. If you're in a relationship, you can introduce your significant other as your novio, boyfriend, or novia, girlfriend. The word for couple is novios. If you're talking about a married couple, the word to use is esposos. Casado or casada is the word to use for married. And of course, there's divorciado or divorciada, which means divorced, and the word for single is soltera or soltero. So now that you know how to describe your relationship status and the status of others, let's dive into some things you might want to say when speaking to a romantic partner. Estoy enamorada de means I'm in love with. Or if you want to ask someone out, you could say, te invito a, I invite you to. If you're wanting to show more affection, you could ask, ¿te puedo abrazar? Which means, can I hug you? Or better yet, ¿te puedo besar? Which is Spanish for, can I kiss you? If you're feeling romantic, you can say, cada día te quiero más, which means every day I love you more. If you're announcing your relationship status, you can say, somos novios, we are a couple. Or, somos esposos, we are married. And lastly, if you're curious about someone else's relationship status, ¿sabes si está saliendo con alguien? This means, do you know if she or he is dating someone? Let's see some of these words and phrases in action. ¿Averiguaste si ella está saliendo con alguien? Realmente me gusta y quiero invitarla a salir. This means, did you find out if she's dating someone? I really like her and I want to invite her out. Or, no, mis padres ya no están casados. Ellos se divorciaron hace 20 años. Which means, no, my parents are not married anymore. They divorced 20 years ago. Next, let's take a left turn and explore some daily expressions. These words or phrases are extremely helpful when it comes to connecting your ideas or reacting to situations. Let's go through a few. O sea is Spanish for so. Vale is how you would say okay or fine. A ver means let's see. Una pregunta means a question. Dime algo. Tell me something. De verdad means really. These are just a few expressions, but if you check out our article in the link below, we have a whole lot more for you to learn. And last, but definitely not least, sometimes when you're chatting with a stranger, you might want to just change the subject. Knowing these phrases is so useful because it allows you to guide a conversation without any awkwardness. Let's dive in. A great way to change the topic is to say, como te iba diciendo, as I was saying. You could also be more direct and say, bueno, cambiando de tema, which means, well, changing the subject, or moving on. Or you could say, eso me recuerda, that reminds me of, or déjame decirte algo, which means, let me tell you something. If you really wanted to change the subject, you could go with, y hablando como locos, which is similar to the English expression, switching gears. And there you have it. Now you know some useful Spanish phrases to navigate any type of small talk. If you want to learn more phrases like this and master conversational Spanish, why not head over to baselang.com and schedule your first class today with a live teacher. At BaseLang, you get access to unlimited one-on-one classes with native teachers all via Zoom. Try your first week for only $1. For more useful Spanish phrases, check out our lesson on ordering food in Spanish. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson.